what we're going to do is we're going to hit reroll. And then I have the comic right here that I produced ahead of time for you guys today. Let's use that as a template for the rest of this to tell the story about this paladin defending the field of lilies. Like maybe they're like magical lilies or something like that, right? So what we're going to do is I'm going to remove relax only because I'm in turbo mode here. But I'm going to remove that, and I'm going to now include an sref or a style reference and then paste the comic into there. Okay. And now let's do an aspect ratio of more like a comic page, right? So that would be AR 2.3 or 4.5. But we have to get rid of the first aspect ratio, the film aspect ratio. Let's get rid of that one. Okay. And we have the aspect ratio here. We have the style reference. Now if we weight the comic to lean heavily towards comic panels, we can actually get it to where we don't even have to necessarily describe it as multiple comic panels, but we'll keep it in there for now. But I am going to add a style weight, or this is basically going to force a certain emphasis of focus on the style reference, the aspects of it, including the paneling and all that stuff. We will just do a really large number for that. So let's do style weight of 850 on that. So that's what we changed. Aspect ratio 2.3. We've included a style reference and we've set its weight to 850. Now let's hit submit. Now keep in mind, I am not doing a variation. I am not doing a zooming out or expanding on this scene. We've done that so many times before, and there's nothing wrong with it, except for the fact that every time you zoom out, the quality of your image actually, not quality, sorry, the resolution of your image technically lowers because it's always a set number of pixels that every Midjourney image is. So if you zoom out, you're not actually making a bigger image. You're just shrinking the details that you have in there, and then it generates around that. So the better thing to do, in my opinion, is to start to develop a reliable consistency to where all your prompts, like this one here, are all showing up with a level of continuity. Now, here's the problem with this, is that she is largely in the same pose in all of these, okay? So if we wanted to be able to, say, have her actually she's not even holding her sword in most of these, actually. So she's not even ready for a fight. So what we can do whoa, sorry. My bad. I got kind of choked up there. My bad. But what we can do is we can hit reroll on this, and we can drop the character weight. So let's do a character weight of 0 just to see what that does. To see how much we lose of the character itself and how much we end up on, or how much we diverge away from them. We'll just see what we get. We'll see what we get off of this. But you're going to notice more paneling right off the bat by doing this. Okay. All right. So let's take a look. All right. So she is certainly a little more ready for the fight. Her character design is a little bit different, but I do really like the fourth result here, though. The thing is, and this is something to keep in mind, every time you add a parameter, whether it's cref or sref, mostly cref, you are going to notice a bit of a it's not a quality loss, it's just a fidelity loss, like that comes from the mismatch of art styles between whatever is in your character reference and in your style reference. So for the absolute cleanest results, just use words. But and in Rhapsody we'll testify to this, that word only prompts are going to be the most coherent for Midjourney, as in it will understand every aspect of what it's giving you by just writing it. But the best way to control the Midjourney images is to have some sort of image prompt or even a drawing or a sketch of your character to guide that result. That you're mostly guiding the composition of your image by doing that, but it is certainly the best way to do this is to start off with a word only prompt and then work your character back in, as in if you have like Roxy the Potion Princess from Rhapsody, you're probably describing that green skinned character much more as opposed to relying on the images. So let's show that really quick here. So I got a couple of different of your all's characters or like on a quick save here, including a quick description of Rhapsody's character. So what I'm gonna do is by the way, the only thing I really wanted to emphasize with this is that character weight 0 is how you break your characters out of the poses that are featured inside of your images. That was the sorry I didn't summarize that entirely, but that's really what this is doing, is that it's allowing your characters to kind of be a little more loosey goosey. But because we're using the Phantasma profiles, we're far more likely to get stay within the fantasy aesthetic. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to prompt for this, but with word only, and try to create Roxy here. So let's try first. I need to scroll up here, grab one of these prompts. Oh, look at this is the one that Rhapsody did in turbo mode. Nice. I'll just bounce off of that one then. Now she has a profile attached to this one. This is one of hers. I'm going to remove it for now because we will include a couple other profiles as we continue today. But I am going to now paste the description for Roxy's character. It's a goblin girl with elf ears, pale green skin, potions at the belt, witch hat, glowing orange eyes. Just as a starting point, we are going to prompt this with no images, and then we will see how close we got to Roxy. Let's scroll on down here, and there's Roxy right here. This is looking great. All right. So here are the word-only prompts for Roxy within the Phantasma world building prompt, which has a really fun like lighting that it does when it comes to especially like character-focused prompts. So we could take any one of these and now start in-painting Roxy into the scene. But I wanted to, before we start getting into the nitty-gritty of all that stuff, I do want to show you guys what happens when you rely too much on the C-refs, because what's happening here with Enid's result is showing what I mean by the quality loss that happens. So look at the backgrounds here. There is a general sense of blurring that happens, and yes, the aesthetic is correct, but it is kind of amazing how quickly you can break the profile by including a C-ref, as opposed to more focusing on word-only prompts and then introducing C-ref as more of a patch tool, right? Something to like clean your character up, to fix your character, that kind of thing. Some characters are just gonna be really tough to do that, but it is really interesting to see what you guys are able to do by using the profiles to create the characters first, so that the art styles match. Like I already know this one's going to be pretty close. It's very cute. I love the little cafe. And then seeing it reproduced here within Phantasma is just awesome. You will find modern elements occasionally, because the mood board is not like cafe doesn't necessarily say, like if you said like what if we replaced this with tavern, something a little more fantasy specific, you're less likely to see modern elements introduced, particularly things like weather vanes and televisions and things like that. You got Flora in here now. Nice. That's awesome. Flora was one of the characters featured in the comic, and it's from Gom Pasta, and they're here. Hey, it's good to see you guys. Okay, let's see. Ooh, we got some paneling going on here. I like seeing them panels. I like seeing her emoting and talking. Let's see what you did here to do that. So Reveille is let's see here. They have the CRF, they have the SRF, they have the they did let's see what they did. She is holding her sword ready for fight. Defends. She shouts a battle cry. Her armor is pink and white and green and influenced by a stargazer lily. That's awesome. The yelling out is what's creating the most amount of dynamic change for this, which is great. You could see the speech bubble is trying to incorporate knowledge of or just saying she's yelling, so therefore she might be saying something, and it adds a speech bubble. These sort of contextual things are so fun and worth exploring, by the way. Let's see. Nixie's got this like celestial character that looks awesome. Let's go ahead. Okay, so this was Tavern. Okay. And I believe wow, it didn't preserve the character much at all. So this was, oh no, this is a different character. My bad. This is Boken's character. There it is. There's Tavern. Okay, so you can see the Tavern more incorporated. Still, a couple hatched wood, or like arched woodway wood construction and whatnot that was not featured earlier. It was far more like modern, like Spain, coastal Spain. Yeah. But let's take a look at this. Oh, oh! I really like this third one here, Gompasta. What's this other mood board that you're mixing in here? I'm curious. I'm gonna jump over to the text chat here. So the 6IVD 2P5. I'm curious what profile that is, because you got a pretty fun expression out of Flora here. So I think there's some potential for her to be like talking with Roxy here because it is in a potion shop. I think this panel, this result has some potential for sure. Let's see here. Yeah, oh, nice. You got her walking up the stairs there, Lolo. Nice. Okay, cool. Plated Mariachi Troll Bard. This one's from Lolo as well. Nice. I don't know if it's very trollish, right? It seems more like a dragon. Dragon or lizard type, like whatever the lizards were in EverQuest. That's what I see, especially that second one. But let's go ahead and take a look at how I constructed the comic here, and then you guys can see the kind of step-by-steps that go into the actual finding the moment of humor, that kind of thing. So if we hop ourselves to the Gnarly Studios server, you can see that we have a ton of different forums and things that you guys can interact with. We have an entire category for AI channels, and they're split up by lodges. So each lodge is basically a place you're allowed to spam with as much AI generated images as you want. Everywhere else, we don't really encourage spamming at all. It's just the lodges where you're allowed to do it, okay? So inside the Green Lodge, you're going to see people immediately messing with the Phantasma profiles, because the Green Lodge is our fantasy lodge. But it is important to recognize the fact that we can share our prompts with /show. So if you type /show and then include the job ID, we are able to bring our prompts into here. So this is actually the initial image that started off the comic itself. So if I what is it? Let's actually have the comic side by side with this so that you guys can see. What's the best way for me to do that? I'll show you guys it one at a time here. So we have the comic here, and you'll notice that in the original version of her, we got something like her, like Flora, and that was because I included the Phantasma mood board profile, the main profile, with the new establishing shot one, so that we can basically combine all of our previous work and have a heavy lean towards this this sort of like Tuscan stonework style. And so by combining those two, we resulted with this image here, where we had some hints of Flora because Flora is included inside of that mood board. So if I show you guys that mood board, go into midjourney.com. We're going to go to personalize here. And I have a whole bunch of mood boards, but inside of my Phantasma test one here, you could see we actually have many of the characters, particularly anyone who tagged their character as a fantasy character on the Gnarly Studio server. Your character is probably inside of this mood board, okay? Which means that when we prompt for random things, random people, random events, that kind of thing, there's a much higher chance that you're going to find one of your characters showing up inside of the result. Now, the thing is about this is that it's going to make like a doppelganger of your character, like someone somewhat inspired based on that character. So let's hit use prompt, and then I'm going to copy that code and bring it over to the to what everyone else is working on here. So you can see we got like Flora and everyone else like kind of started to populate inside the comics. Oh, let's zoom on out here. There you go. So everyone's started to populate in here, and this is just too much fun to see. Ooh, I see Roxy. Awesome. But let's go ahead and oh man, this is so cool. It's so neat to see all this. Let's go ahead and try to. What was I doing here? Oh yes, yes. We're going to incorporate some profile blending here. So let's do slash imagine. We're going to do animated fantasy film, just to get us started. I'm going to do AR32 this time, and then we're going to paste the profile code for the base Phantasma, or sorry, the base fantasy profile that we have, and then we're going to copy the profile for the establishing shot one that we've produced for today. So basically, we're going to copy and paste them side by side, and then put why don't we just put an EG6 on there, and we're gonna hit enter on that and see what we get by combining the two. See if any of our characters start to populate into there, or at least a fun doppelganger of them that we can easily in paint into, in order to kind of balance the sort of lower degradation that sometimes happens with CREF when it comes to our backgrounds. So and I'm just very curious what we end up here. Okay, all right. So now we're a little more character focused. We have a couple different environments, different characters interacting. You can see that we got the braided green outfits are inspired by Gnome. There is a swordsman character called the Gunman that has a couple of these sort of orange hues. I see a little bit of Lolo Soon's character or color theory being applied when it comes to the oranges. Yes, there's a lot of you guys baked inside of this mood board, I promise. So what we're gonna do is let's re-roll this and start to describe what we want to see in this animated fantasy film. Okay, so let's say animated fantasy film depicting, I don't know, a let's pick the people on the stage. Let's see, animated fantasy film depicting a cat boy. Why not a cat boy running from what should this said cat boy be running from, guys? I want to see inside of VC text what you guys suggest for this. Hi, I'm Ran. Thanks for coming. Really appreciate any new folks here. If you got any questions, feel free to ask. That's what we're here for. I ramble, guys. I feel free to interrupt me by just typing inside of VC text. I will probably see it, and happy to respond. But I want to know what this cat boy is running from. Am I in the wrong chat? Oh, am I in the Gnarly Studios chat? Oh my god, I've screwed up bad on that one. Whoopsie. There we go. I'm here now.
That boy's running from a dog girl.
Okay, my bad. Comic board, I see. You may need to scroll down. I see. I screwed up on the VC text chat there. My bad thing. Okay, let's see what the Catboy was running from then. It's the worms. Is it the worms from? Oh god, oh god. Let's running from this. Okay, let's just say giant worms. Running from a giant sandworm. We're suddenly okay. You guys are a little too excited about sci-fi, about March of the Machines sci-fi. Uh, we're already doing Dune. Okay, let's get in here. The mistake I made, by the way, was the fact that I had left VC. I thought everything is kind of smushed for me on my computer screen, so I apologize about not noticing that. But I definitely had the text chat for my server open on the left side here instead of the VC text. Thank you so much for calling me out on that. Oh my god, we got it like right off the bat. Okay, it's a mechanical sandworm. It's a mechanical sandworm. Okay, all right. So we got the cat boy running from what clearly looks like a giant sandworm. And so what we need to do is we need to put ancient in here. I think we need to put ancient in here. So let's go ahead and find him. I'll go into the Gnarly Studio server. I will grab. Let's see here. Go into the character portal. And then we have ancient here. Ancient Chaos. There we go. And the thing is, we probably should have a fantasy version of him. I know that, in fact, you probably have one already set aside, Ancient. If you do, feel free to link it. I'll be more than happy to use the fantasy version of your OC. But
I,
I,
I
hmm?
I actually don't. Like the few times that I've done it with the Phantasma, I've just used the same one,
Uh
and
huh.
sometimes it's pretty interesting with a slightly lower character weight.
Nice, nice. I yeah, we should definitely make a fantasy version of Ancient's character here. At least a Catboy race for us to mess with here. So I'm going to use the Banhammer image that I created of Ancient here to start us with because it has some magical elements to it. Let's go with that. And so what I'm gonna do is we're just gonna in paint him here. Just a generic boop plop right there, and then we are going to use cref, paste the link for that image, and let's do a character weight of 50 in order to reintroduce not only the fantasy kind of stylings, but important to recognize too, also the art style. That is because the lower your character weight is, the more you're allowing for the art style of both the profile and whatever is already in your image um, to to allow it to manipulate the character design, and that's super important in order to create a coherent image where everyone is kind of on the same page, you know. And I will say there is one side effect of this: the beatification aspect of using the minimal Phantasma board, the world building board, is it tends to de-age your characters a little bit. Rhapsody's Roxy does look like she's in grade school in a couple of these, but yes, he's a rogue, a Catboy rogue. I like that. That's fun. Yeah, it's particularly sinister. Nice. Yay, cat boys! Yay! Look at all these cat boys. Oh my god. Yeah, this is why I love this this stuff with you guys, just because we're instantly able to incorporate your old stuff. It's just so cool. Roxy's been in Phantasma so long, yeah, for sure. All right, so we have Ancient's character here. They're kind of more looking at it, right? And that, again, that's because they're kind of in a a bit of a power pose when it comes to um, the CRF here. But we could at least start to see the influence that the CRF has, and it's definitely adding all those little hints of purple and things that are in his character. So let's see. Animated fantasy film depicting a Catboy mage in his mythical treehouse. Expansive views of the sunset. That's awesome. This is also a fun way to introduce a new race to Phantasmas by simply using a character weight of 0. Like uh, if we take the like these images here and then run a CRF of Ancient here, but then put the weight of the character to 0. That's just going to get generally inspired by the idea of Ancient's character and more try to reproduce a bunch of different, or at least what it should do is produce a bunch of different, environments for that Catboy to sit in. So like let's see, because you could also ask for a crowd and then randomize the crowd with character weight 0. And look at that. All right, that's real fun. Definitely leaning more towards the like the white-haired pale hooded aspect. But I think if we lean more towards the rogue, I think it'll be more interesting. Like this. Yes, right on the money. Right on the money, right there. This is fantastic. All right, so this is combining. Yes, perfect, perfect, perfect. It's combining all the right profiles. That means the art style is going to match, and it means that we can start telling a story with Ancient's character. This is so freaking cool. I love this. So let's see here. I might need to take a sip of a drink here for a minute because I'm getting a little too excited and I can feel my throat starting to get raspy. So I'm gonna ask Kinky to step in here. Are you around, Kinky? I wish I had my smoothie. My smoothie place closed. I don't have a smoothie place no more. Sadly, I would have to go to McDonald's, and I refuse to go to McDonald's to buy crappy smoothies. Um,
I am here.
okay, cool. Yeah. Do you wanna
I was
make
on the
some
wrong
announcements?
screen.
Oh, you're all good. Do you want to?
I'm here. Happy. I hope everybody's doing well. Hello. Um, I just wanted to remind you that this weekend, like every weekend, we have prompt battles, and I was hoping that maybe you might want to attend. Uh, we do we do 8 hours a day of battling. You don't have to stay for all of them. In fact, you can just come and hang out as long as you want. Um, but every win that you get will get you a free fast hour, and participation will get you free fast hours, and winning at bingo, which is Snoopy's bingo card game, that'll also get you a free fast hour. Um, and you get to meet new people and hang out with really nice friends, and learn how to prompt things that maybe you never would have thought to prompt. We do this on Saturday and Sunday. Saturday we start at 3:30 p.m. Eastern United States time, and we go until 10 p.m. On Sunday we start at 10 a.m. United States time, um, Eastern Standard, and we would love to have you there because we love to meet new people and get our ideas together and prompt and do all kinds of fun stuff. And here's some links so that you know where they're at. And I hope to see you there.
Thank you so much, Kinky.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna come on back here with a gnome hat on because Rhapsody made a gnome hat for me, and I keep forgetting to turn it on. All right. So, by the way, loving the Riding Dragon. This is exactly the next panel I was going to do. By the way, I love Fungi Mancer for already moving us towards future panels of what we can do of them riding this dark dragon. I will mention that when I when I tried to prompt that dragon that's featured inside the comic as a C ref inside of Phantasma, I only got Toothless. It's a lot of Toothless. Okay, so I do not recommend unless you do want to make your own fantasy version of Toothless, or that's that series. That C ref will only produce Toothless. I even tried to like negative weight out Toothless ahead of time. I couldn't do it. It's just a lot of Toothless. But this is where I'm leaning with it, where I want to have Gnome with her arms spread out, like super excited, Flora worried but holding on tight to the reins, and then Vic in the background just along for the ride. Just Fangless. Just call him Fangless. Yeah, that's totally not within copyright. All good. But yeah, no. This is certain. This is awesome. And then seeing what you guys are doing here. Like Fungi Mancer using the over the shoulder shot, like just awesome that you guys are already building this stuff out for us. We're gonna go hard with the fantasy stuff here just a second because the next part's gonna be really fun because you're gonna have to. Ooh, you're already screen capping my stream here. Okay, that's awesome. Who did this? Gompasta. Thank you. Okay. I'm Victor Nomley. I'm gonna send this one to Fran. She's gonna love this one. Oh, that's a good one. That's actually really good. I love how the hair pops out of the hat. Let's upscale that one. But what I'm gonna show you guys next is because as you guys start to develop your comics, make your comics. We're gonna read through all of them. As we get towards the end of the stream, which is not for any time soon, I promise, because this is going to be the deep diving part for you guys, as well as we're going to get into the homework and the challenges related to the Gnome King. So here's the fun thing I want to experiment with you guys today, though. Okay, so I have a website set aside here that you guys may or may not know about. It is called TV Tropes, and let's see here. I'm going to open up the chat here for you guys. Okay, so I won't have a problem posting a link to TV Tropes, will I, Ancient? Like, am I gonna get kicked out for this? It's not the content, just the website TV Tropes.
Should be fine.
Okay. Here's the deal.
I can't guarantee how many people won't fall down a hole of it though.
Yeah. That's really why I'm so excited about doing this. I have a link here to tvtropes.com. But what I need you guys to do is to click on the random trope button on the top here, and it's not letting me direct link to it because whatever if it's actually a spoiler for whatever the random is if you right click on the random trope button on the top, right? But if you click on random trope, and I'll just pull it up here for you guys. So if you look at here, you're going to see a website that's basically like a wiki of all the tropes that are in television. Okay, like so many of them from contributed by users all across the world. But if you click this blue button up here, it's going to give you a random trope. And I this is kind of risky for me to do because some of the tropes are real raunchy. I will note that, but
Yeah, that's the first one I got.
yeah. So I will mention that if you find a trope, I want you guys to click on random trope. I will not click that just yet. If you click on random trope, okay, I want you guys to be inspired by whatever is the trope that is given because these are established basically visual narratives that not only Midjourney is going to understand, but your audience is going to understand even more. Because they may not they'll understand it subconsciously. They may not know like the nitty gritty inner workings of it that you'll find inside of TV tropes. But let's sickly green glow. The power glows, but evil power glows green. Most of the time, this glow is closely related to death as well. Good characters may wield power that has a green glow, but this always is a healthy or natural shade of green. Evil green is more sickly, yellower shade that makes you want to take a shower to wash it off just after looking at it. According to the principles of Technicolor science, and all of these links, by the way, guys, all these links are to more tropes. So this is the rabbit hole aspect that Ancient was talking about. It certainly is. That you let's see here, and if we keep going in here, it says the trope most likely originates from the radium dial watches. Okay, so that's so cool. Let's check out the radium dial watches. Ooh, okay. And so again, now that we have this inspiration of maybe radium, that means that maybe one of the crystals is diseased, or something that gives like an unfortunate byproduct of being nearby it. Okay, so let's try. Let's come into here. We'll come into our prompts here, and I will grab one of our generic fantasy prompts. Let's see. I want to do one without a CREF really quick. This one's with an SREF. I believe that's the comic, right? Oh, no. Okay, it's another one of the results. Let's see. I just want to grab one of the earlier prompts that we did. Okay, let's do this one from Lolo Soon really quick. This was with version 6.1. So let's go ahead and say a sickly green glow emits from the crystal. And then yeah, and I'm just gonna keep the prompt the rest of the same. Let's see what we get with just sickly green glow. A lot of these, like the aesthetics wiki, is another place that I'm not really sure how Midjourney refers or has knowledge of it. But the aesthetics wiki is another great source, similar to TV tropes, to start to build out some of the more generic aspects of the narrative behind your film. So you could say, oh, this green crystal spurted from the ground and people started praising it, but then they started getting sick, like that kind of stuff. It's just a lot of fun to dive into. And your all's dragons, I love derpy dragons. This is great. This is a great derpy dragon. I like it. But I want to see what you guys are able to explore within, and I don't want to keep clicking random trope just in case there is some risque stuff that is in there. But I do want to see what inspires you, what interests you, because the thing is these are all like the building blocks of making a great story is inside of TV tropes. It also lets you avoid the plot. Like the plot devices that are overused. You'll see just how often some of these tropes get used that you may even start to see them in movies and kind of roll your eyes. You're like, ugh, did they really have to go with that trope? Yeah. It's there's a lot of potential by digging into TV tropes to start to build up the narratives of your characters, or at least the kind of the driving forces of it, right? Yeah, I do like where you're going with this, Lolo. I'm curious to see what sort of little story you're able to pull out of those. Okay. Oh, nice. There's the green crystal. Nice. Awesome. Okay. All right. So we've gotten into some pretty fun stuff already. Ooh, wait, the dragon. Is this a dragon blacksmith? That's awesome. A black dragon working at the forge. That's rad. Yeah. Like it's just being able to establish this world view that is so interesting to me. That we're all able to populate within the same place. So why not tell a story that all takes place in the same environment or the same location? So then we can branch off of there and start creating mood boards for different locales. We have a patchwork that I still need to send Legal Beagle access to edit, but the patchwork, we've done a lot of really interesting stuff with it already. Um, wait, a dragon working mining greening glowing ore crystals. Let's take a look. I like it. I like it. I would have. Okay, you know what? We should really lean into this. A a radium dragon. A radium dragon working in the green mine with green crystals. I'm curious if the word radium will make the dragon actually like start to glow and be this like green thing. Ooh, Revelie's OC's now in Phantasma. Look at that. Oh, it's so good looking. It's so good looking. I don't know anything about your OC Reveille. I think he's just a cool looking dude, right? I want to learn more about him because of this. This is what I want. This is what I want out of this. This is so freaking cool. Okay. All right. Did we get anything with the Radium Dragon? Okay. He's a little more sickly looking, like thinner and whatnot, but that doesn't really mean anything. It's more. I like the dragon in the hole though. That's pretty cool. Um, I think what we should do is we should probably reinforce the radium aspect of the dragon even more. So we could do a radium, the Chernobyl dragon, the Chernobyl dragon. That'd be actually kind of screwed up if you just had a random if a dragon named Chernobyl. But let's see, the plutonium dragon. Okay. I promise I didn't steal that from the card game. Okay, I why am I blanking on the name of that card game all of a sudden? Munchkins? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Munchkins. I love playing Munchkins, but it's a game that makes me and my friends yell at each other. Um, so I'll say the pluto like if we did plutonium. I'm curious if anything from that game actually kind of starts to populate, but we'll do plutonium Chernobyl dragon. Imagine dragons radioactive but literal. That would be really funny, actually. Like we do a bard core version of Imagine Dragons radioactive. Hold on a second. That has to already exist. That has to exist already. Hold on. Let's find out. I'm gonna open up another tab. You guys won't be able to hear it, but I'm curious. Bard core. Medieval kind of version. All right. I'm not gonna play it, but yes, there is at least two versions that people have made that are medieval covers of radioactive. So if you did want to do that, if you did want to make a music video for this, you're welcome to. I'm not gonna stop you. No one can stop you now. Um, okay. So let's see what we got off of the Chernobyl prompt, though. I'm curious. That's this is a crystal dragon made of green glowing radioactive crystals. I like it. I like the idea of also just of just like basically saying it's a crystal dragon. Like that fractal bob. Let's see here. This is the one where it's mining in the fields. Yeah, we didn't really get anything that was particularly interesting. But I would much rather probably lean towards the crystallized dragon, right? Yeah, like what Gompast is leaning. I can already tell that what Gompast is doing is going to knock it out of the park. There you go. That's actually really cool because a lot of people were attracted to like radium and whatnot, like as a just like as a growing like glowing mineral or whatever. Like I think this is really interesting. This first one particularly. Let's see here. Yeah, it almost looks like a Pokemon, right? But I could definitely see like this is the last thing you want to see. Because if it comes any closer to you, you're gonna die a horrible death. No, and whoever can ride this thing is like a lich or something that's like a bringer of death or whatever. I definitely can see some sort of plot along those lines. Uranium glass dragon, perfect. Yes. Um, the my
Collect uranium glass. I have a huge collection of uranium glass.
You do?
I want a uranium glass dragon so bad.
Are they even like safe to work with though? Like I have no idea like anything beyond
I mean, you
that.
wouldn't eat off of it, but it's nice to have to look at under a black light. You know.
Yeah, for sure. Uh I love this. You got the dragon bursting out of now we just need Flora, Gnome, and Vic on the back of this dragon. Okay. And they're all watching the three vagrants of the city of Phantasma fly off in an utterly massive dragon that's for some reason's been hiding underneath the city or like in one of the I got something amazing Rhapsody says. I bet you do. Let's see. Uh let's see. I'm curious. It's I'm sure you're gonna link it. I know that she also has a couple animated gifs that she's made with Pika. So let's take a look at this. Oh, why are you doing this? There you go. Okay. Let's let that repeat here. Oh, that's so good. Uh yes, and everything that we're gonna build out will probably end up animating like this, just because it's just so cool. I'm excited to be able to tell the stories this way. But let's see what Rhapsody got with the dragon here. Hold on. I'm on the wrong tab. Yes, yes. That is so Disney. I could see that, yeah, for sure. I don't really like how his wings are kind of flopping around, but it's only doing that because he's trying to avoid the rocks as he's walking forward, which means it's actually doing a really good job. It's the depth the understanding of depth in this is ridiculous. But if we start the GIF a little later, like somewhere like here, maybe a little later than that, right here, right? Then we don't get any of that kind of jittery wingness as he starts approaching. It's so cool though. Wow, that's awesome. See, this is what I'm talking about, guys. I mean, we're gonna be making a fantasy anime very soon. It's there's no way that we can't do this now. Especially since the everything we're doing has this sort of coherency to it that is just we just line up all the storyboards together and start prompting them in Pika, or any other AI video service. There's so many of them out there now. Okay, let's see. Hey, you can bet I will do that. I know you will, Raps. Sweet. So this also applies for the what is it, the stylization. I've noticed that if you amp up the styles, it can kind of muddy some of the backgrounds as well because it tries to like force a more uh, a more directioned medium basically. Like it's not accurate, but it is certainly true that I get more watercolor painterly effects the higher my stylization goes. So I try not to use that too much. Um, but if we look at this is another one from Rhapsody here. Yeah, the dragon approaching is real damn cool. I like it. I like it. Definitely. Here's the effeminate version of that same dragon. Okay, let's take a look now. Yes. Establishing the characters inside the locations is too damn cool. Born of Radium. Yeah, that's nice. I just really like how the default establishing dragons look. Space Ghost Dragon from Uranus. um, but like if we do something like this, let's do an animated fantasy film depicting the dragon or a dragon attacking the the medieval city of Phantasma. I don't think it really recognizes anything when you write Phantasma outside of fantasy, but it is interesting to write it in there and have it have some element of influence on this. It would be neat to eventually have like uh, basically like a key term for Phantasma and have it be understood too. But that we're really doing that now with the mood boards than anything else. So take a look at that. All right, so the sense of scale is what impresses me most about this mood board, right? I mean, it's just we're able to get some really grand environments, but also focus on, hey, there's a castle in the center, a bunch of smaller buildings, right? That gives us our base for Phantasma to start animating in, to start prompting in, to start spanning panels out of, that kind of stuff. Okay, so Fungi Mancer, what did you do here? Let's take a look. What do you mean you catched it? That's awesome. Awesome. Oh, okay. So these guys, by the way, they're the Nards. They're like the gnome guards, right? They're like the lowest level of gnome or sorry, the lowest level they're not villains. They're not villains at all. They're just underpaid slave workers, basically. And so the active like they're far more likely to run away from a conflict than to actually fight something that's bigger than them. That kind of thing. So like this is just so cool though. I mean like maybe like the crystal at the end of their arrows is meant to defeat something specifically, right? Like some sort of local vermin of some sort that responds. Like maybe the slimes only react to being hit by certain things or whatever. But to have him catch the arrow, maybe what helped him catch it is the fact that he's a crystal demon character. That's really cool. I dig that, Fungi. Awesome work. But now what I want to do is let's take the animated fantasy film depicting a dragon attacking the medieval city of Phantasma, and let's add the Phantasma mood board as well, the actual fantasy mood board that we have. So if I scroll on up, I'll find one of you guys using it. Yep, here's Kinky using it. Okay. And it's just because I have it memorized now. As soon as I see LMF or whatever, I know that's that one. So there we go. I'll paste that in there, and I'm not going to change anything about this prompt. I'm just going to now include all of your all's work that we've done over the last year into the result, or mixing that into the potential results that we have here. You could also try remixing it in there. I'm curious if that, like, how much control you can get off of that. But let's take a look at what happens when we now combine these two. Ooh, Nixie did it. Nixie already did it. That looks looking good. Let's see what we get though. I'm curious what I got with it. Okay, all right. So we have animated fantasy film depicting the dragon attacking a medieval city of Phantasma. Okay. Now what I want you guys to notice, the difference here is, one, we get a little more cartoony. It's a little more silly in terms of like, look how wide-eyed the dragon is on the top there. But we get some amazing dynamics between the characters, I think. So like the dragons in the environment and the characters that are featured in here, these are looking amazing. So like we could take the third one here and make reactions of the two characters that are down here, showing off the attack. Oh, Lolo, this is amazing. He looks like a cat in the first one, but oh my god, this is awesome. Is it Cat Boy? It looks like there's a Cat Boy already in it too. That's so cool. I like it. I love the goofier expressions that we're able to get with this. It's so cool. Okay, so we have this bizarre looking dragony thing here, right? In terms of the kind of weird tentacle head, that kind of thing. But if we wanted to, we could now do a custom zoom and say that this is no longer an animated fantasy film, and say this is now multiple comic panels depicting a dragon attacking the medieval city of Phantasma. But we want to change the aspect ratio, so let's change it to 4:5, something that's a little more like a page. And then let's set the zoom to 1 so that it doesn't zoom out at all. It just kind of it just changes the aspect ratio. This is the manual way to do it before we had access to the website. So I'm just doing it here on Discord so that you guys can see it. The website offers way more options when it comes to how we can expand, how we can zoom out and edit the images. But for the sake of Discord, I think this is just fine. So let's see what we got off of that. Okay. All right. So we definitely we got like a close-up reaction to watching their city burn. That's pretty cool. I like that. So like we don't even have characters established for this scene. Just it sees two characters and it goes, "Oh, this is a horrifying scene." And the character looks like he's looking at like his entire life has now burned in front of him because of this stupid dragon. You know what I mean? And this is the start of like his vengeance against that dragon. Like, you know, stuff like that. Stuff, inspirational moments, right? So the crystal dragon's pretty cool. I think there's still a little bit too much chaos that comes off of this. I don't really know what's adding it necessarily, but it kind of feels like a video game at this point when it comes to the crystals. Let's see here. I definitely am going to use the image that of the dragon bursting out of the ground there, because that was so good, so good. And then I'll check out Rhapsody's videos here. Let's see here. Where is it? I know it's just a little farther up. I'm having way too much fun with this, guys. I hope you guys are having fun too. Feel free to use VC Text to chat with us today. We're prompting inside of VC Create, but it is something that... Oh, there it is. All right, I'm upscaling these. Because what I mostly want to do, or what I mostly want is to hear from you guys. I want to hear what sort of stuff you want us to make. It's already being pitched that March of the Machines is what we're doing next month for a theme. So if you guys want 4 weeks of sci-fi, we can do that, or at least sci-fi themed things, or maybe not necessarily just sci-fi. What if it's also just like machinery in general, like, you know, like mechanisms and things like that? That would be cool. But I do like the idea of doing like 1950s robots one day, and then high sci-fi, like the you know, greater, like all technology is magic kind of stuff, which kind of blends us between the two of what we're doing right now. There's so many things we could do. I'm just curious what you guys would want to do if with a sci-fi theme. So sci-fi fantasy weirdness is, yes, I love that. We could actually stick to something and try to complete animation in March. Nothing big, but a bunch of scenes to focus on every week. Yeah, it is tough to organize, but it is something that I'm totally down to do. By the end of this, we definitely have a story of them meeting this dragon and such. But when it comes to like the Gnome King and everything from the challenges, we're gonna dig into that right now. So and see what we're able to make with that. Awesome, guys. I'm loving where this is going. I'm curious to see where you'll take this. We will definitely be in painting the gnome Flora and Vic on top of this dragon later on, but I want to take it from here and open up the Gnarly Studios server, because there is a challenge that we have set out for you guys from last week. For you guys to complete, which was the Gnome King challenge. So I'm going to copy that over here real quick. Sorry, I just need to get my links open again because I totally closed out of my server at some point. That was probably when I accidentally had the wrong chat open. Let me close out this. Just a second, guys. Just seeing if it loads up on me. There we go. So inside the Gnarly Studios server, you guys are going to see that we have a whole bunch of fun channels, but the channel I want you guys to focus on is challenges. And challenges is like, we have make a meme, make a sticker, like that kind of like more social interactive stuff. But we have one specific for the fantasy theme that we started at the end of the last stream, and it is, who is the Gnome King? This prompt was provided by Fran from the Tiff and Eve comic series. And essentially the prompt is, the Gnome King was deposed by the wizards, but still lives in the city. He rides through the crowds of gnomes every day to show he is still present. Where does he go? Who does he visit? How does he dress? What does he ride? how do the different fantasy races in the city, especially the gnomes, regard the Gnome King? How is he treated in the streets? These were all questions because, frankly, Fran and I, when we were building the fantasy world, we didn't know. We want to know from you guys, okay? So you guys, a bunch of you guys submitted some really awesome stuff. I mean, there's one entry from Lolo here with with very particular booty requirements from Lolo here. I really appreciate the old man butt. I'm just gonna say it. I'm just gonna say it. I really appreciate that old man butt. When it comes to let's see, we got Bert. Doing more of a little more of a gestured aesthetic for him, and it's really cool. I love the foolishness. His foolishness. I love the little pony horse. The little pony horse is just so funny to me. It prompted so well. Oh man. And it's just really cool to see what you guys are doing with this. Look at this. They even put a video up. Oops. There you go. I'll replay that. That's so funny. So I guess they have some floating ability with this one here. And we'll get in. We won't read every entry word for word. There's a lot of text that's here that I'll lose my voice if I read it all. But I will link you guys to the server here. In fact, Kinky already did it. So if you look at the VC text, you'll see that there's a link to the Gnarly Studio server. Just join that, enter the challenges, and start posting to them here. Alara gave a really cute one, like on a badger. It looks like a honey badger. And what we can do is we can combine these results arbitrarily in order to essentially say, hey, this is a generic midpoint between all of these, but that's not really that creative, right? That's just kind of letting Midjourney do its thing and not really giving us something that feels curated or controlled in that way. So instead, I think we're gonna crown a winner for the Gnome King. I think that will be the better way to do this. There's some really good entries in here. I do need to properly dig through all of these, but I'm definitely leaning towards Lolo's depiction of the Gnome King at this time, just because I do really like his balance of sort of like royal attire and the scepter, but also like a bit deposed, like, you know, the clothes are a little feathered or worn, or like, it's just really cool. I love the royal booty wins. The royal booty, I think the royal booty do win on this, but we can take aspects of all your stuff and start to incorporate that in there. I really like the idea of the pony horse. I think that that's a funny idea to be like, you know, he doesn't have a ride anymore, so he's kind of coping coping for, like, what was that Schitt's Creek? Schitt's Creek is a series about a bunch of rich people that become poor all of a sudden. I can kind of see that riches to rags sort of story of where it's, in order to cope with not having a royal steed, he has to use the little jolly horse thing, the little horse stick. That's fun. But we could take elements from all you guys. So that's what we should do, is we should start to build up the Gnome King as this character based on the stuff that you provide here. I really do like the what you guys have provided, but I would want to see even more. I want to see even more submissions to this kind of stuff. So feel free to dig into the challenges and start posting them. We'll feature the best ones here on the stream. Awesome. Last stream we had Gnome Ball. And Gnome Ball was awesome. It was so cool to see how you guys interpreted this sport, because it's the official sport of Phantasma, and seeing you guys just go nuts with it was just so much fun. I was especially a big fan of, and by the way, Fran and I looked through all of these, and Fran was especially a fan of this image right here for my troll for you. This image is not only in a fantastic depiction of what a gnome pile is, where a bunch of gnomes are piled up in the center in order to obtain the ball, but they have to throw the ball into one of these floating hoops, and preferably for the hoop of whoever their wizard master is. So you can see there are currently 5 wizards in play with this game of gnome ball. But they all have many gnomes. The only rule really is there can only be an even number of gnomes, right? So the thing is this is a game that's designed for the wizards to be able to divvy out loot. It's a form of entertainment for them. But if say they go on a raid and they win, or sorry, and they defeated some monster that was housing a treasure chest full of jewels, they may put the treasure chest in the center and then turn that treasure chest into the ball, forcing the gnomes to have to figure out how to get it to use it as a ball and all that kind of stuff. So that's where the gnome piles come from. I just like the idea of them being like this sort of weird magic basketball with artifacts as the balls. So it's just a fascinating idea. Thank you so much, I Troll Free, for submitting this image in particular, because it really was the inspirational jump for so many other things for that we made with the Gnome Ball stuff. So if you look at the rest of Gnome Ball, it just all you guys providing all sorts of different examples of different games and different wizards that are interacting with each other. Like Gal here was my submission from my comic series, and just it's just so cool to see you guys giving Gnome her contract. It's like, this is so fun. I love all of these results. But the key thing is that when one of the gnomes grabs the artifact, they are immediately put into a bubble shield, which actually turns them into the ball. Okay, so the biggest gnomes are carrying and throwing things around, while the smallest gnomes are the ones holding onto the artifacts inside the ball so that they're not too heavy. That's kind of the logic there for Gnome Ball. So then you guys threw Gnome in there, and she's just like being forced to be the ball. It's just so funny to me. Uh, yeah, great work, guys. Fungi Mancer did a POV of the Gnome Ball like games, and that is just really sells it. Now imagine this, okay? This is you're a wizard in Phantasma, okay? You're playing Gnome Ball. You've ordered. They capture one of the artifacts and they throw it through the ring. Your job as the wizard is just to catch it, right? As it comes out of the hoop, because if it might if you don't catch it, it might break, right? So the idea is that because it's flying through the loop and it's being thrown basically at you from at any time, you have to be ready to catch it like an umpire or whatever, or like just like baseball. So I just find it funny that maybe the Wizards have catching mitts. I just think that'd be really funny to incorporate random aspects of baseball that don't necessarily scream the modern corporate, MLB stuff today. I just think that's funny. Okay, cool. All right, let's check out what everyone else is doing here real quick inside of VC Create. I take a couple more drinks here. This coffee I got, because that's the only thing I got going for me to keep my throat here today. Let's take. Oh, Kinky's in Phantasma. Look at that. That's awesome. Uh, oh, it's so cool to see what you guys are doing. I'm gonna let this scroll for a minute, if you guys will let me catch a breath for a sec, and we'll just check out everything you guys are doing. So I'll be back in about 30 seconds or so.
Please let it scroll. I hope everybody's having a good time watching the show and participating in the show. I just came and snuck up here because it's the kind of thing I do while Victor drinks his liquids. Um, I really like these images, and I kind of stole a dragon from Enid, and now he's my dragon. I originally wanted him to have all the grass on his back that he had in the picture, but um, I'm okay with him not having grass on his back now. He's gonna have me on his back because I'm gonna ride that dragon. And that's what I'm working on. Yep.
So, oh, thank you so much, Kinky. I really appreciate that. I do want to mention that one of the early ideas that we had, which by the way, this image of Flora getting snuck on by a gnome-like character, awesome, awesome. I'm gonna upscale that because we're definitely gonna use that. I do want to mention that the fantasy story came up because of one of the Mid-Journey prompts that was produced featured a half house, half dragon flying out of the city of Phantasma. Okay, and we were thinking of that Tim and Eric bit about free real estate. And we were like, it's free real estate if you just transform people's houses into dragons and then transform them back into houses after you get them. It's like, oh, it's free real estate. Um, so this could be a joke in that line too, where it's just like, oops, the magic dragon potion or whatever that temporarily turns you into a dragon was used was put on the house or something like that. I just think the idea of a house dragon is funny, let alone the idea of like a pet dragon, super fun, cute, all that, but the actual idea of your house being like with wings and it's flying around. None of the dragons had heads. That was just like the funniest part to me was just you just suddenly birthed a bunch of wings on your house and you were like the movie Up, right? And your house started floating away. But this is now flying with big wings and causing damage as it flies away would be just so funny to me. So yeah, and we leaned a little more away from the random humor that is Tim and Eric, but I do still really like that idea of house dragons. Let's see here. Okay, so like if we wanted to take this scene for example, and throw Gnome in there, have a little bit of interaction between the two, then the only thing we got to do is grab her CREF and we have that available for everybody inside of the Fantasy Nexus. So you'll find inside of the Fantasy Nexus that we have not only the city of Phantasma itself, which is how we built all of this, by the way. So if you do want to learn more about the process of like developing that profile to where it boiled down to 3 images, this entire kind of like epilogue of or not epilogue, but just overview of development is all right here. So one profile includes almost all of this stuff, while another profile is the honed in version specifically for building, establishing, or opening shots. Okay, so all that's in here. But if we go a little step lower, you'll see that we have GNOME 3.1, and I have a new version of GNOME that is currently in testing. It is just a single image that is meant to make her a little more jolly. She's very angry with the current version of her, so I'm trying to make her a little more just easy minded. So let's go ahead and try to inpaint her into this result here. So we will first hop ourselves back up to the original prompt. There we go. We will do let's do a vary region. And then we will now select everything that doesn't match GNOME. You have to, refer to the character design sheet when doing this, but I have her pretty much memorized here. She's very close already. There's very little that I would have to change because of certain aspects of the design. But if we highlight over this, a little tuft of her ear, another little tuft over here she doesn't have. Let's actually try to get her cone to be represented at least a little bit here. Okay, I can see my computer already lagging because we've run through so much stuff here already. And then I'm gonna also highlight this little bit down here because I don't know what that is. And if we wanted to more control the expression, for example, we can use an image prompt of one of the expressions from her character sheet in order to force a certain expression. But this is kind of like, psst, hey, over here. I got some cool rocks to show you, kind of stuff. Is fine enough for me. So now we're gonna take that image that we have of her CREF and we're gonna paste it here, replacing all the links in Flora's CREF with GNOME. And then we will describe the tiny gnome character. She means a tiny gnome character, tall hooded girl. Okay, so let's do tiny gnome character hides behind the tree. Just to kind of describe her in the scene here. If this doesn't work well, then we probably want to include two people or an image depicting two people as a sort of like divider between them, and then it'll more likely in paint for her specifically. But I think we're going to be just fine with just describing gnome here. So let's go ahead and hit submit on that. And if it doesn't mesh right, a lower character weight will be the solution for that. So cool. Yes, Kinky is taking that dragon. Let's go ahead.
Larger than I wanted to be small
Yeah.
compared to the dragon.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, he is hiding somewhere. Let's
He's in there somewhere.
he's in there somewhere. But what I would recommend for that, Kinky, would be to definitely try to inpaint a generic person sitting on the dragon as like a rider, and then inpaint you over that character. Just so that it's less of this this merger of two. That's what I would recommend.
Clever, you're clever.
Especially if you don't use a
definitely
Seeroff
would
at the
have
beginning. Yeah, that'll definitely nail it for you. But let's take a look at the result that we got here. Okay, there we go. All right, so now we have her hat's better represented. She's leaning in a little bit on this one here. I do like this one. I don't like how her feet are kind of, well, no, I mean, she's tiny, so it kind of makes sense that her feet would be kind of shown like that. I don't like the braids in the front, though. Let's do this. Let's do this. We will re-roll this one more time to see if we can kind of get the braids behind her ear. If not, we will inpaint that. I do like the first one, though, in terms of getting the position right. But look, she's got two tiny little feet in that second one. It's too cute. But let's see here. What do we get? I do like what you're going here with Floor and Gnome talking, though. That's this sort of scale dynamic is exactly the stuff we need to be aiming for when we start doing multi-character C-refs, okay? When we have two characters inside of our C-refs. This one could work really well because we see her full body and we see her crouched down so much in these results. I highly recommend Gom Pasta trying this as a C-ref. These are looking good. These are looking good. Good job, Draxler. I like these. But I'm curious what you end up doing with them. But I want to see what happens if we now, oops, what did I click? I clicked the redo upscale by accident. Hold on. This is fun though. I like this. This is great. But I want to try something with yours, Draxler. Okay. I'm going to take the mood board for the fantasy stuff we have here. So we have two of them combined here, and I'm just going to apply that to your comic here. Okay. I'm curious if we can get an aesthetic blend without losing that quality or that coherency that we're seeing inside of your comics. But look at how there is a rendering difference between all four of them that is dramatic. So if you wanted to say, like, yes, these are gorgeous and they really do nail a comic. But I will say that the one negative with this is that if you try to expand or you try to repeat this, you're going to have to basically recreate it as either its own mood board or its own aesthetic there. But let's take a look at what resulted when I now took the exact same prompt that you had, but applied the Phantasma mood board to it. And take a look at this. Look at that. Look at that. We very much get the reactions, but we get the coherency across all four results, which is just awesome. Look at this. That's just ridiculous. I'm so excited to see what we're able to do with this, guys. Okay. Awesome. From here, I want to see how far we can we can go with developing a completed story with having the characters riding on the dragons, and you can see Kinky's already going so far with just the concept of a dragon rider sitting on the dragon, that kind of thing. You'll definitely be able to inpaint your OC into that. That's awesome. Okay, so at this point,
Yay.
yeah.
And yay! I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited to see this all come to fruition. So an example here of a multi-CRF might work. I don't know if you've messed with this yet, Goem Pasta, but if you do have two characters in a CRF, it almost always breaks. It's not able to understand the scenes. So you can see that Goem Pasta had it here, where we have a generic sort of tall person and little gnome girl kind of coming together, but even in the fourth panel it starts to break for that. So what we want to do is we want to kind of lean away from how constraint the CREF is, right? Because right now, notice they're almost all the same composition, and that's because of the CREF. So if we re-roll this, let's try a CREF of a character weight of 0, but also I also want to try one where we apply a chaos of 100 to really break us out of this composition as well. So let's try both of those and compare the results. There is one last element to this, which is we should be describing two people in this scene. Because the more you have of a... is that two separate CRFs or two characters in the same CRF? It's two characters in the same CRF. That does make more reliable results in terms of particularly proportions of characters, right? Like if you got a really tall character and a short character, it really helps preserve that scale difference. And you could see that even with the character weight of 0, it's still preserving that dynamic. Sorry, this is with a character weight of 100. Sorry. Wow, I am tongue-tied today. It is at the chaos of 100, we still see that dynamic. But with a character weight of 0, is that what this is here? We do still see the same dynamic, but now the character designs are merged together. Okay, so either one of these will take us in a direction, maybe not the direction that's really useful to us, but it will certainly take us somewhere. So we know here that with a character weight of 0, it preserves the dynamics between these two characters. So what that means is that we can really push this. We can go, hey, let's have the prompt do most of the work, okay? So, because that's what character weight 0 is doing, right? We're essentially describing what's inside the CRF here. What if we didn't? What if we described exactly what we wanted with two people and used the CRF as just the building blocks of these two characters? So, we could say a fantasy adventure film. I know I'm using that prompt a lot, guys. It's such a broad prompt. It gives us so many interesting things to work on top of. Okay, so let's just do fantasy adventure film depicting a tall warrior and her gnome, and her gnome girl. Let's just do that. And we have essentially the character weight set to 0 to kind of merge them together. But the most important thing inside of this, though, is that we are describing two people. So fantasy adventure film depicting two people. And I'm just going to put a single colon. If you put 2 colons, it creates a multi-prompt. We don't want to do that. I'm just going to do 1 colon. 2 people, a tall warrior and her gnome girl. And we'll just hit submit on this. We can also do the same thing with, again, chaos at 100 and the character weight higher up. But I'm curious what this gives us. You can do a multi-prompt. Yeah. Let me show you what a multi-prompt looks like. Okay. You can even weight the individual elements of the prompts individually. Okay. So we're gonna scroll on down here. Okay. Here's the adventure film depicting 2 people. Look at that. So yes, you still get the kneeling down and leaning, but look, now we have them standing side by side and we can now start to bring up that weight a little bit. So let's try, let's do 60 on that and see what we get. But I'm going to show you guys what a multi-prompt looks like. Multi-prompts go back pretty far in terms of versions of Midjourney, right? So let's it's not exactly the most advertised or dealt with thing. I think it's, in some people's minds, it's kind of a legacy feature. But if we now do multi-prompting, so let's say that this is a we want to see a dragon on top of a hill, and then I'm going to put colon. All right, that splits it into a separate prompt. So dragon on top of the hill, and let's say sunset at the beach. Okay. And then I'm just going to apply our mood boards and stuff into that, just because I'm going to keep to our theme today. Let's see, where is our mood board? Just a moment. There it is. And now I'm going to hit submit. What if we use multi-prompts to do the usual comic panels? The reason why multi-prompting isn't really that desired is because it really breaks coherency very easily. So comic panels in particular can sometimes have interesting results with it, sometimes not. You don't. It's just one of those features that's harder to give a defined control over the whole thing. Like look at this. So I did a multi-prompt for where is this? You guys are going too fast. The prompt I had was dragon on top of a hill, sunset at the beach. It definitely captured both of those elements in most of this, particularly the first and the third. Sorry, the fourth and the third. I think that's. It just, okay, multi-prompting isn't a legacy feature. It just doesn't work as expected with V6, and there isn't really a good use for it within V6. Yeah, exactly. That's the more appropriate way to say it. Thank you, Legal Beagle. But what is what is good to know about multi-prompting is how it uses weights. Okay, so say I was like, I like this, but I don't see enough of the beach. Right? I don't see enough sunset at beach. There's no sunset in that third image. There's sunsets in these, but I don't see a beach. Okay? So let's re-roll this, and I'm going to add another colon at the end of this, but I'm going to add a number immediately after that. So let's do a 3. Okay? And then hit submit. I appreciate you guys going into the comments here and clarifying a few things about multi-prompting. It's definitely kind of confusing for a lot of people, and it's even harder to explain it. But if you notice here, what I have is dragon on top of a hill, colon, sunset at the beach, colon, 3. Now, sunset at the beach is effectively 3 times as powerful as dragon on the top of a hill, and we no longer see the dragon, right? So then I can kind of scale that back a little bit. We can include another number up here. So let's do like a 1.5 for dragon on top of a hill. I believe the default value is 0.5. It could be 1. I forgot what it is now. This is the kind of dragon that I imagine most people, if they are interacting with like a moto, like a moto transportation or something like that, it's just kind of like a feral beast, right? That just careens them in a direction. Yes, this is great. I love this. It's too funny. Good job, Drexler. Yes, we have some really derpy dragons that we're able to make with this mood board, so please submit them to our server. I would love to see more of these derpy ass dragons. But let's see here. If we look at this now, okay, dragon on top of a hill, sunset at the beach, 3. You're starting to see what I'm talking about here. I weighted up the dragon a little more. I ain't seen no dragon, and it doesn't really give a coherency to demonstrate it, to make it something that is useful from an educational standpoint. So I tried not to use multi-prompting much at all. It does work a lot better with version 5. in terms of like what your imagine your intent is for that. I was able even to do like multiple characters in separate multi prompts and have it somewhat understand it, but it wasn't very good. It was definitely not worth diving into or reverting your project to version 5. Definitely not worth that. But it is interesting. Yeah, yeah, get her on that dragon. What would be an example of a good use for it? Good. That's funny. Yeah, Ancient, do you have an answer for that?
Um, it's hard to say. It works well for some things and not others, and it's really just a matter of testing it out and seeing if it works.
Yeah, for a while, I was multi-prompting a lower number for comic panels so that it would get less generic to the idea of comics and just give me a construction of it. But now with style referencing, I don't do that anymore. Not needed. Hey, legal beagle.
Hey, I'm just jumping in here to throw my 2 cents in. Um, I have not yet heard anyone argue for multi prompts, other than just like this is a thing you can do. Categorically, no one's arguing you should use these, you should do these, because they don't really do what you expect, or there's no like
Love them.
definable
I
way
love,
to
I
use them.
love, love, love multi prompts, and so does
Okay.
Fnackle.
Well, I know, and Fnuckle said this at the during the thing yesterday. It was like, oh yeah, I love multi prompts, but not anymore because they don't do it what I want them to. So
Well,
I'm
yeah,
not
not
arguing
me.
against multi prompts. I'm just saying I haven't heard. Like that was a great question. So is there an argument for what's a good example of it, or an example of a good use for it? I haven't heard one. I'm not arguing against them, but there's
Right.
nobody's arguing for them.
Yeah, and
But
for
Mickey, you what?
version 5, you definitely had some utility when it came to separating certain aspects of your image. Like you can compartmentalize your prompts and start to tweak them and iterate on them. Now at version 6, it's just kind of like randomizing between which one it is and which one will
Yeah,
more
they don't
likely lean
exist in
towards.
version 6.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's sad. I want them back.
Yeah, maybe next week we can have Rhapsody give a whole oral argument for multi prompts in version 6 and finding utility for it, because it really is one of those where it's like on some crefs it works really well, on some it doesn't. It's really it's a crapshoot. It's by far the most crapshooty feature I know of in Midjourney outside of like chaos itself, right? And even with chaos, if you apply a cref on top of chaos, you control chaos. like you can't do that with multi-prompting as well. Oh, it might be something to someone's knuckle for. Oh yeah, please do. I'm curious. Uh, but I guess one of the things from here is I do know that Rhapsody had uploaded a couple of different videos that we haven't seen yet. So let's take a look at these. We got this one here. Oh, stupid Imager ad. Yeah. And this is the kind of stuff that I would be doing color correction inside of After Effects for, would be to the darkening that happens all through here. Like that would be 100%. But the way the dragon grabs the city is awesome. The rocks that burst out of the, I didn't even notice that at first. Look at the rocks on the right side of the screen. Oh, that looks so good. That's awesome. Um, let's see here. I think we got another one here. Um, yeah, this one here. You know what this reminds me of? It's the fox. It's the desert fox from that one episode of Simpsons where Homer is on like peyote or whatever in the desert, and he he starts see it's making fun of the Beavis and Butthead scene of Beavis and Butthead Do America where they're lost in the desert, I think. But it's basically he's trying to find his soulmate, and the coyote is like showing him that that it's Marge, right? And this just the shape of this coyote reminds me of that. So that's pretty cool. It's also one of my favorite episodes of The Simpsons. Yeah, this one right here. Look at him. Doesn't it look like him? That's too good. Love it. Okay. All right. So, at this point, I'm going to finish up our dragon comic. I think that's a good way to kind of round things up here. It's getting close to 6. We tend to close things up in about half an hour or so, but I'm curious to hear from you guys. What sort of stuff you want us to do in the future. There's a couple of new folks here who have stepped in over the last like half hour or so. So I do want to mention that we do have a couple different ways you can interact with the stream here. We have VC Create, which is where we're all prompting right now. It's just above the stage. You can find all the cool stuff that we're making together. And there's some really cool stuff. I cannot wait to dig through all this by the time we get done here, because we are quite literally establishing our fantasy world right now by doing this. It's just so cool. Look at this. Just look at the peacefulness of this. These sort of tan dragons, these dragons that match the stone. I'm gonna call them sandstone dragons. These sandstone dragons are awesome. I love it. They're just so cool, and seeing all the different styles mixing in with your all's profiles too lets us go, oh, okay, maybe we can do more of a a witchy line of the story with this character versus the others, because of the way that profile influences these character designs. It's just so cool. It's just so cool to mix and match all these.
Sorry, just a moment. Draxler, you've been asked not to do this again. You've been asked before not to upscale everybody else's work. Please don't do it.
From here, I'm going to take our favorite results of particularly the dragon bursting out of the castle there, and let's start constructing this comic. There is one other thing that I did to the comic that I'll be showing off here today, which is how to use the editor to create dynamic paneling for your comics. So let's go ahead and let's use this comic as an example, just to get you guys. This is the remix we did earlier. So I'm just going to show you guys how this works. First, we're going to copy this image, okay? And I'm going to open up Photoshop. I promised a couple of you all that I wouldn't open Photoshop right away and start diving into Photoshop tools and stuff like that. So now I'm going to take advantage of that just for a second to show you guys how to use the editor to do some really cool stuff. Okay, so let's copy this. And, oh, it's Photoshop time. Yep, indeed. Let's open up the tablet. Okay. You can see I have the comic that I was constructing here. But what I'm going to do now is open up a new project. I do not want to update. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to expand this out just a little bit. So let's do canvas size. And then by percentage, I am going to expand this by 110%. We're going to do this on both the height and the width. Okay. Now, if you did this as for comics, you're going to actually notice that if you do it by percentage, you're going to get odd gutters or weird shaped gutters. The top of your gutters are going to be lower or taller than the left and right side of your gutters. This is because you're scaling by percentage. It makes a lot more sense to actually scale up your canvas based on the pixels, right? So like go to, again, canvas size. Then instead of pixels, instead of percentage, we're going to use pixels. And then we're going to say the same number of pixels for both the width and the height. So it says 2,688. Let's say that the border we want is 50 pixels, or the gutter we want is 50 pixels. So that means that this will now be 2738. And then we add 50 to this one as well. So that's 1842. Okay. And then we hit OK on this. If you had like an odd panel where you needed to expand downward instead of out from the center, you can use this dial to control that. But let's hit OK on this. And now our gutters are all even. They're all even on all sides because they are the set number of pixels. But in order to make something really fun for you guys, like to make it real pretty and interesting, I'm actually going to make some really big gutters. Um, um, let's try to let's go back one more time and go to canvas size. Instead of 50, let's do 200. So let's do 1900 for this one and then 800 for this one. Okay, now we have a gutter of 200 pixels on either side, and I am now going to remove this center gutter entirely, like so. Just delete it. And the reason why is because when we get rid of this background now, we have a alpha channel that surrounds our comic. Okay, no more panels, no more gutters, just these two. Sorry, there are panels, but there's no more borders to the panels. It's just an alpha channel and these two images. Let's export this now, and I'm going to say that this is Draxler's comic desktop. Okay. It doesn't matter the spelling. I'm gonna rush through this. So if we now open up midjourney.com, okay. If you have the annual membership or you have generated at least 10,000 images, you'll be able to use the external editor. If that has changed at all, let me know. But the external editor is awesome. It lets us do some really wicked stuff. So let's go ahead and hit edit. And then we can now hit edit uploaded image. That means anything that we've made before, we can now have Midjourney do in-painting on that. So that means that if I now say grab the image of Draxler's comic here, so desktop Draxler, there we go. You're going to notice that after it uploads here, that the alpha channel is respected with the uploader, like with the new tool here, the external editor. And that is insanely powerful to have alpha channels inside of Midjourney. When we did the interview with Bay Rate, this is the thing he was waiting for, was being able to do this, okay? So we could make this bigger. We could make this, give us a little more room on our panel borders if we wanted to. But alpha channels are going to all be respected inside of Midjourney now by showing you the checker pattern that's here. What this means, though, is I can now come into here and say a fanciful panel borders, and then we can continue to describe what we want. Let's just say it's a comic book page. Okay. And I'll submit this as is, but I want to apply a style reference on top of this in order to reinforce that we want this to be a specific style. But you'll notice you're going to get an error. It says no changes to submit. This is the funny part about it. This is actually what I think kind of throws people off at first. You have to remove something. So we actually select a random part of the alpha channel. Boop. I just click on a random part of the alpha channel and it will let me pass it now. Submit. Okay. So let's do that, and I'll grab the other comic that we've made and use that as a style reference for determining the panel borders. So let's also grab that. Comics. Comics. Okay, I got a link to the comic here. Oh, creation failed. It was deemed not safe. Okay, hold on a second. So let's try to apply the style reference on top of that. So I'm going to hit paste, and here is our comic. I'll apply that as a style reference, and then I'm going to hit SW for style weight, and I'm going to set that really high. So it's going to try to replicate whatever's in the style reference a bit more than it would normally. And we'll hit submit on this. Let's see if we get a deemed not safe image from this. I think we're going to be okay. What comic did you guys make here? While this is loading, I'm curious. From Fungi Mancer. Ding ding! Sorry, sir, but the bell won't work. Not since the wizards have promoted you to a servant position. Yes! Yes! Fungi Mancer already going on, already knocking it out when it comes to the gnomes here. That's so cool. Oh, Fran's gonna love seeing this. His royal bell doesn't work anymore. That's too funny. It would be funny if it got so annoying that they had to like neuter the bell, like they had to like take away the little dingy thing in the middle. You just keep shaking it, just to cope. I can see that. But all right, let's go ahead and now open up our the editor here. Okay. All right. So now if I start scrolling through here, look at what it did to the edges and borders here. It tried to recreate the kind of messy edging and paneling that is in our style reference here. So I probably want to lower that a bit. Let's go from 850 to 250. And then I also want to do one where we just describe something wild. So let's just do like a fancy Celtic style page border with ornate detailing. Okay. And I'm not going to use a style reference for this one. I'm just trying to force it. And we can hit submit, but we can also increase the chaos of that to really reinforce that we want something, different and random in there. But if we notice here, now look how it did the panel separation for this one result here. It made like a zipper. That's awesome. It's so cool to work with alpha channels, guys. It really lets us take this up another notch here. Okay, so it actually just added to the image. It just kind of completed our comic again for us. It just added more space to so like that didn't really work, and the style reference worked a lot better at doing what we wanted to do. So let's do this. Let's get the best of both worlds here. Let's do both a style reference and an image prompt by holding Shift, and we can select that. Lets us select multiple buttons up here. So let's do an image weight and a style reference. Let's make this a little bigger because I want to kind of show this off a bit here. So let's make this nice and big. And I won't get the even panel borders anymore, but that doesn't really matter. We're fine. We're fine with this as is. And we can actually move the image inside of this thing to center it. There you go. Okay. And now I will submit this with both a style and an image weight. And we'll see what we get off of this one here. But I've rewrote it to be fancy Celtic style page border with ornate detailing. So let's see what we get off of that. Your March of the Machines image here, Lolo, reminds me of Baldur's Gate. Reminds me of the machine guards in Baldur's Gate. Okay, all right, look what it did. It added a speech bubble and everything. Okay, so now we have some ornate detailing that's been added to, or not ornate detailing. We've just added some randomized panel bordering here. But look what it did with the text. It did some really fun stuff here to kind of try to mimic the text that's in the style sheet here, the style reference. So we are starting to really mix up how we can do the panel bordering here. But it's also just increasing the size of this image. So let's try one more style reference. Instead of using my comic, which the comic is kind of random, like it's kind of just kind of painterly splotches, let's try something really detailed, something really ornate. I think that's going to knock this out of the park. Let's go ahead and grab on Google. I'm just going to search for ornate Celtic borders, or trim, or filigree, or any one of these words will work. Let's grab this. Okay, this works. Okay, so we have this image here. I can hit copy image address, and let me see if that works actually. Yes, it is a .jpeg. Look at this. Okay, let's use this. All right, so I will now come back into the editor here. Oh, that's just me. All right, okay, there we go. Now we will replace the style reference and paste this one in and submit that. Okay, and then we'll just submit this guy and see what we get. Because it's the same thing I Googled, basically. I'm hoping it works well, but we can apply whatever we want to this. If we want to do an anime data set, let's do it. If we really want to have it do something wild, let's add chaos to it. Let's do a chaos of 25 and just add that to that too. We can also just stylize the crap out of it. Let's do 850 on stylize and see what we get. This is what I love about the editor, is that all this happens in real time that we can see on the right side here, and just be able to keep as productive as possible by not having our prompts rewritten a ton of times inside of the right panel. Instead, our prompts are hidden behind each one of these images. You can see my top bar changing every time I go up to another level. This is how it's just so much more productive to do it this way. Look at that! Look what it's doing! Okay, so this is what I was talking about, guys, is that we can start applying really ornate, fanciful borders to our comics using the editor and alpha channels. So let's upscale a couple of these and take a look. Ooh, look at this one. Look at that one. That's cool. Look, it even had her scepter going over the border, the panel border edge. I have to upscale this one. Okay. This one's really cool. I love these colors. I love these sort of like neon blue and greens. That's awesome. Yeah, you could see why it got me really excited to see alpha channels now being in Midjourney. It's been here for a little while. Not everyone knows about it because there's a limiter from getting in the external editor. But man, does it knock it out of the park at doing what I ask, as long as I provide a reference. So it's just super cool. It's awesome. It's new for me too. Yeah, there you go. So I'm going to upscale these, and we're going to take a look at them. I'll post them here for you guys to look at. It's just so cool. I love digging through all the stuff that I have upscaled in order to see this on your on the stream here. We have so many different little starts to the fantasy world that we want to tell. Oh my god, it's so cool. I'm just really digging it. Okay. Awesome. Let me paste these to VC. I need to learn this. I was in a different window, but listening, those are pretty cool. Yeah. I'm going to copy all of them here so that you guys have them too. We got 1, we got 2, and 3. Oh, as soon as that one's done rendering. Just a second. Okay, and then we have 3. So I'm going to post this to VC text for you guys. That way you guys can have them. It's good to have these images because, like, you can always reference them. If you do like the way that the panels are done in this one, you can always reference this particular image and keep reusing it, right? What I do find really funny about this story here, like what it feels like this is the story too, is I see her reaching for her sword and it's not there. Like, she has the religious like scepter, right, to be like, I'm here to banish you from, wait a minute, where's my sword? Like that kind of like panic. That's what I see. That's the expression I see here. Basically adding the text of where's my sword, and then you could just have Blobby running away with it, just being all like spazzy. I do think that is the perfect sort of comedy for what I want to do, where you have this epic adventure or this epic fight that's about to happen, and you're about to see the main character, go against the big bad, and their sword's missing, and now the actual focus of the series is about the little vagrant that stole the sword. It has nothing to do with the heroes of the story. That's where we're leaning with this, guys, and I think that you guys are nailing it with this sort of imagery. So I love it. Great job. This was a nice remix to your stuff, Draxler. Thank you for posting that original comic without the profile codes or anything like that, because it let me then remix it with our profile codes to make everything stylistically coherent. So cool to do. So much fun. Okay, so I see we got a good chunk of folks still here. I want to finish this dragon image. That's definitely something I want to do here on the stream. But I also want to give you guys, because there's no more fantasy challenges for Fantasy February, seeing as this is the last day of February. But that doesn't mean that Fantasy February or the Fantasy Project is over by any means. I will be continuously working on it with Fran in order to eventually create a proper series. It was last year that I really wanted to have something ready and produced, but with how fast this technology is moving, I think we're at a point now where I finally feel like we can really take in the scale of Phantasma and properly demonstrate it for the general audiences. So this feels like the most completed comic that we have when it comes to the narrative side of it. So yes, I'm excited to get into that on my own. But next stream on next Friday, we'll be doing probably machines. We'll probably be doing March of the Machines and do a sci-fi run, which we have yet to do in the year and a half I've been streaming or whatever. So that'll be a lot of fun. But what I want to do now is I want to first experiment with trying to expand. Oh, I just don't really want to experiment. I want to just make something. I want to just make something. Let's see what the chat says here. I would love some Trek-like space opera. Ooh. Well, space opera is Star Wars, but yes, yes, I would like to do some Star Trek stuff, particularly. You got yes, you got Legal Beagle's character on the dragon there. That's awesome. Let me go ahead and grab our the image that we have rendered here from. Of the dragon jumping up here. All right, we got that one. Let's open up Photoshop really quick. Okay. Photoshop. Get rid of this. And now I am going to... I don't think is the upscaled image in here? Let's see. I'm just curious if my upscale of... that dragon bursting out of the ground. No, okay. We'll find it inside of our results here. If you just upscale someone else's images, it's not going to show up inside of your feed. You have to be the one that does the variation or the generation of that. So let's quickly find that image here. It's going to be in here. There we go. Of the dragon bursting out of the ground there, because we did a whole upscale of that too, so I want to make sure I find that one specifically. Eventually I want to find a way for us to be able to have this feed on my stream like rolling down the side of the screen, because I would love to be able to not have to constantly click back into VC Create to see what you guys make. I would love if what you guys made just showed up behind me or was like scrolling through on its own, so it would be a lot easier for us to like make sure everyone's work gets seen. That is something I would definitely be, if someone has a plugin that lets me do that, I would 100% just turn that on tomorrow. But it is it's harder to do than you'll believe. But let's see, this was the one that we upscaled with Gnome kind of sticking out of the corner there. I think we did a reroll of that one. I want to see if that reroll went through. Yeah, it's right here. First, I'll upscale this. I want to get her. Yeah, let's just do the let's just do this second image here, just so I have it, and I'll save that for later. And now we got to find the one that I was looking for with the one coming out of the dragon there. And I believe that's one of Enid's, because I do recognize the pink-haired girl. It's going to be a little bit of scrolling. My bad, guys. I should have had this one opened a while ago. I might have. Did I do that? Probably not. Probably didn't have it open already. Yeah, it's all good. We'll find it. So I'm curious what you guys are up to this weekend. You're more than welcome to hang out with us over on the Gnarly Studio server at any time. There's always somebody hanging out in voice chat. So if you need someone to collaborate with, if you need someone to get to know, or make stuff that with AI that maybe you might have trouble finding other creative people who want to do that, it's a great place for that. Great place for that. So I highly recommend joining the Gnarly Studio server. Kinky just posted a link to it over at VC Text. We're only 20 members away from 2,000, which is ridiculous. I'm very curious what 2,000 people could do at making something, but the reality is that the community is very tight knit. I would love to say that all 2,000 people are paid, subscribers that are active users, but the reality is it's in the single percentile of regular users, and those are the true kings of Phantasma, is all those people who are the supporters that post things regularly and add more content for us to make. And so I'm so excited about the community that we're developing, because it means that we're going to be able to just live in this fantasy world. I wake up and you guys make comics. It's just awesome. I wake up to new stories inside of my own fantasy world that we're developing together. I can't beat that. So I found the image here. Let's go ahead and grab this. I'm going to hit copy image. Okay. I do have the ability to region in paint, trying to get the character sitting into there, but I'm just saving this now into my Photoshop file. We may not get it done today necessarily, but we will definitely get it to where I will have everything I need. So we're gonna make a new composition, save that image here, and whenever I'm doing the initial sort of plotting of a comic, I first create a storyboard. So before I start creating speech bubbles and layouts and all those fun comic book stuff, I just create a simple storyboard. So I will expand the canvas out about whatever many panels I think I'm going to need. For this one, it's only 2, but I'm going to just give myself a little bit of extra room here. I'm going to expand that out about 4 to 5 times. And then I'm going to start collecting the other panels that I wanted to incorporate into this. So there is one more, and I can find that very quickly on my Midjourney account here. The other image is an unfinished version of the dragon, or them riding the dragons. Okay, so let's do this one here. So I have 3 people generically. It's just here's the prompt: 3 people and a slime ride a dragon. That's it. But it has the new profile, and the style is set to 850, and the character weight is set to 0, because this is the style reference and this is the character weight. It's one of the very few results that I got where it wasn't toothless, and it's all because the character weight was set to 0. If you set the character weight to 100 with Larry, it's going to make toothless. But we are going to fix this with replace color in Photoshop in order to make this the dark dragon again. Or we could change the original color of Larry to something a little less like toothless. We could make him a green dragon like this, or we could make him, just some wild color that won't generate based on like. I would probably avoid purple. I'd probably avoid purple dragons, and I'd probably avoid dark, because it's just going to make toothless again. But I do really, it would be interesting if we can negative prompt particular images. Like, I would love to negative prompt just toothless face and see if we can avoid toothless entirely. But to do that, I would have to do multi-prompting at that point. So let's go ahead and let this finish rendering here. We have our high reses, and you notice our characters are not in there yet. It's just kind of a generic 3 fantasy characters, and you don't even see the slime even though it's in the prompt. Okay, we're gonna copy this, bring this into Photoshop. Okay, and I'll paste this. And the reason why I don't do any real editing when I start to do the construction here is because I oftentimes have to look at all of the panels I actually plan on including, okay, and be like, I actually like it more with the green. Let's make all the other panels with a green dragon. And just, it lets me make better executive decisions over my comics if I have all my panels inside of a Photoshop file. Because now I can look at this and be like, oh, he's got a tan belly on both of these. I could totally make the left one a green dragon, or I could totally make the right one a dark dragon. So I'm going to do that really quick first, because it would take literally, most of you guys already know how to inpaint with CREF. You're just adding your character references as you inpaint. The only trick I really have is to remove the establishing profile for the fantasy, because that's going to oftentimes delete your character entirely. instead leaning more towards open environments. So just either use no profile or use the standard Phantasma one, and we'll be able to input your characters quite easily. But I want to show you guys how replace color works in here, because that's really how I create cohesion across some of the randomness that happens with things like dragons and stuff, where we don't really have a proper control over, outside of saying this is a green dragon. It's oftentimes, as soon as you start describing very arbitrary things like that, certain tropes or gravity wells, as Bayrate called them, gravity wells end up taking over. Where if you say red dragon, suddenly the dragons are far more Chinese, because it's the lunar dragons and all that kind of stuff. So instead, I like to do a lot of stuff in Photoshop to kind of do corrections. So I'm going to select this image here. I'm going to use the object selection tool, and I'm just going to see how well it's able to pick up this dragon just by highlight and selecting here. It picked more of the background than the dragon, so let's see if I can hone this in with a smart object. So I'll first click on the dragon here, or this image, sorry, hit convert to smart object, and then I'll hit edit contents. That hones in the canvas to just this one layer, this one image here, because now when I do object selection, it's not referring to that massive canvas, it is referring to just this image. So I can select all the parts of the dragon here with smart object select, which is a lifesaver. To do this properly would have been an hour or two's worth of work back when I was working in Hollywood, okay? Now, seconds. Like, that's just nuts. If you would have told me that this is where my industry was going to go, I would have been like, oh God, like, what else is there left for me to do? But the reality is there's so much left to do. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and now get rid of some of the details that it managed to select of the other characters. So like the saddle and her leg here. Let's just get rid of all that. And I'm not even going to worry about being too detail oriented here, because we'll be able to paint in our color difference here later on. But I have my selection here. Okay. I want to make sure I select the arm parts of this dragon here. There we go. One last little skimmy over the marquee here. You see that there is some spots here that should be not selected. So let's lower our tolerance to like 15 and then remove these. There we go. All right, we have the dragon marquee now. I'm going to duplicate this layer, and then I'm going to put a mask on it. This mask means that anything I edit with this image here, it's only going to edit what's inside of the mask. Okay, this is incredibly useful, because if I do like a major color correction on this, like let's just say I do a hue shift to like a yellow or purple. Let's do purple. Okay, then I can just use the mask to draw in where I want what's underneath it to show up. So like, for example, it's right now he's all purple dragon. If I take my brush and make sure it's on black, which is going to hide whatever I draw, I can now give him green stripes, right? And they will follow along with the whatever is underneath it, because it's the same image. It's just a mask. So yeah, if you want a fancy, fast traveling dragon, you could just paint some flames on them, you know, just paint flames. But for the most part, what we want to do is we want to get this to look like the dragon that we have in our comic. Okay, so I would say that let's first try to get these two dragons to look even in color. So I will take this blue that's here. Let's select the blue. Okay, now I have that blue color picked. I will create a third layer, and then we will create what is called a swatch. It is just a sampling of the color that we want to have for the dragon here. And we have to make sure we put the swatch in the right place. So notice there is a highlight on his head and a shadow on the underside of his face. Okay, so I want to make sure that I select a color that is in the highlight or part of the face. So let's go for like here. That part of the face is in broad daylight, which means that if I now bring this over to the other dragon, if we put the swatch over the bright light, that's how they should match. We should make sure these two colors are matching. Right now they do not. They are very much purple. So let's first do a hue shift away from purple to blue, something like this. And now we are just going to keep fiddling with this until that blue swatch disappears, okay? So we will lower the saturation of this image. And by the way, this is where having color theory in your repertoire, in your history, going to college for art is very important, because a lot of people can't see the differences between saturation and contrast, saturation and light and all that kind of stuff. So let's go ahead and there we go. Look, we're getting much closer now. Let's amp this up a little bit, something like that. Okay. All right. Now I'll hit OK. Remove the swatch and zoom out. We got a blue dragon, guys. Look at that blue dragon go. That's awesome. But we do see that there are some parts of it that got turned blue that we don't want blue, like the leather belts, the leather straps on the dragon. This is where we pull out our tablet pen. And by the way, I'm going to just be that guy and just say this right now. If you buy a tablet right now, every anti-AI argument you really read or talk to can be nullified by just taking a picture of your tablet. Okay, being like, oh look, like no, I drew on this. Yes, you might be only drawing masks, but at least you did something. At least you applied some element of human edit to this, because they will tell. They will tell that you did. But anyway, it's something I've noticed. I've just noticed that whenever I talk about my Huion tablet, people start shutting up and they start looking at my art. So that's good. But I'm just going to shrink the brush size down, and I'm only going to paint wherever these brown straps are with a black color, because that's going to remove it from the mask that we switched to blue. Okay, so it does help to, I mean, you could go through here and just color pick all of these, right? But if I did that and then paint to black, notice that it creates this kind of like blue rim particularly on color. So I always draw them. I almost always try to come in with a brush and try to hone in that subtle blend that you get between elements. So there's a saddle on the bottom here that's a little bit blue, so let's get rid of that. And there's some green that's here that we can now use the color picker on that green. Okay, in fact, let's increase the tolerance of that. That'll be easier. Grab the green, okay, and now we just again click on the mask, but we're going to switch this to white because we want to have the blue show through here. So we'll just paint bucket that, and now it's blue, and there you go. We have a blue dragon. And then at this point, I would bring this image back into Midjourney and start in-painting my characters back in, and slowly get slowly get Flora, Gnome, and Vic to all be hanging out here. So it's just too much fun to do this the right way with Photoshop. And now that we have the now that we have the blue dragon here, I can just hit save on this smart object, and boom. Now we can compare the two and see what changes we need to make. Notice that the belly of the dragon is a white color, but it is blue over here. But in our original comic, there is no belly color. It's all just the dark dragon. So now we have to make a creative decision. Do we go back and make a blue on the belly of the comic that I had already released? Or do we change the belly on the first dragon into the same color as the rest? I do whatever choice is less work. This is called economy in creative arts. If you pick with economic decisions, even if it isn't necessarily the most creative or the most interesting, if you think with economy, you're going to be happier. That's for sure. Why take a picture of tablet when I can just / imagine one? Yeah, it's true, but you also can't rebuttal somebody with a drawing or a doodle of something that someone's in the middle of your argument saying, pick up a pencil, and then you pick up your little pen and you go, here, I did it. What's the big deal? It's a great way to kind of do a comeback to that, because it's such an obnoxious thing that people believe that the people who use AI in any respect, including small in paints and corrections, that they don't know how to make traditional art, and that's just so stupid. It drives me up the wall. And I'm one of the best ways to counteract that is by just drawing for them, like doing a little commission or something like that. Like even if it's a joke at their expense, at least you're showing them you have more skills than just I can type in a box. It's just better. It's just better that way. But okay, all right. I've rambled on long enough about this stuff, guys. We are at 6:30 now. I want to just say, one, thank you so much for joining the stream here today. This has been so much fun. I really did enjoy it here today. But we also have an after party that you can join. It is called the Show After the Show, and you can come onto the Gnarly Studio server to hang out with us and actually speak on the stage over there. So it's a voice chat where we all kind of hang out. You can share your projects and let us know what you're up to. And it's just a really fun way to get started with the Gnarly Studios server. So you can find it just by joining on the link that Kinky provided in VC text, and then finding the Show After the Show voice chat. It's right here. So I will see you guys there. I hope. I definitely want to see more from you guys, more of these little comics and projects from you. And I think that we made plenty of materials today to get that started. So let's see here from Lolo Soon. Thank you, Gnarly, Kinky, and Ancient, and the usual Gnarling gang for another awesome evening in your great company. Well, thank you. See you all next week, gang. Yeah, and then zoom off into the sunset with your sci-fi bike into March of Madness. March of the Machines, I mean. Yeah, for sure. Awesome, guys. Well, no, thank you so much. I'm going to give my little wavy goodbye sticker as well. Thank you guys again for joining. I will see you guys next week for, I guess, sci-fi, because that's where we're going. From fantasy to sci-fi. Let's go. Yay. Thank you, Kinky. Thank you, Ancient. You guys have a great weekend,
Thank
okay?
you, and I hope you all have a wonderful night, and bye-bye.
Bye.